Hello everyone, how are you all? Welcome back to class. Previous class were discussing about the chapter Migration. What is migration? Migration is the movement of people from their place of origin to another with the intention of settling down temporarily or permanently. We learned the reasons for migration, that is, in search of food and in response to climatic changes and natural disasters, and sometimes due to economic, social, and political reasons. We learnt the factors that cause migration. They are of two types, push factors and pull factors. We studied the causes of push factor and pull factor. Today, let's move on to the topic types of migration. There are different forms of migration: emigration, immigration, internal migration, and external migration. What is emigration? Emigration is the act of permanently moving out of one place. People who move out of one place are thus called emigrants. In simple words, emigration is to leave one's country to live in another. Easily you can remember by thinking exit. Emigration is exit. If you live in India and you move to Australia and try to set up permanent citizenship, it is an example of emigration. Next is immigration. Immigration is the act of permanently moving to a place other than that of one's origin. People who immigrate are called immigrants. Immigration is to come into another country to live. So we can think it as enter. So immigration is enter. About 5.2 million immigrants live in India, making it the 12th largest immigrant population in the world. The India's immigrants are from Bangladesh, Pakistan, Nepal, and Sri Lanka. So they have entered our country leaving their place of origin. This is an example of immigration. Next is internal migration. Internal migration is migration that takes place within the country. It is of different types. So internal means inside. So it takes place inside the country. So which are the different types of internal migration? They are rural to urban, urban to rural, rural to rural, and urban to urban. So let's see one by one. Rural to urban. People migrate from rural areas to urban areas for access to better employment opportunities, better living conditions, and better infrastructure. For example, in India, the metros of Delhi, Mumbai, and Kolkata attract many migrants from rural areas. Urban to rural. People migrate from urban to rural areas to return to their place of origin. For example, a person living in Delhi migrate from Delhi, that is urban, to Bhadravati, which is rural, because Bhadravati is his native place or place of origin. Sometimes, due to urban problems such as pollution and lack of space, and sometimes for economic reasons also. That is, living cost may be high. Next, rural to rural. Migration between rural areas occur mostly for better employment opportunities. It may be seasonal or permanent depending on the nature of work. Let's consider a person migrate from Bhadravati to Tirthahalli, that is rural to rural, as he may get better employment opportunity there. So what is seasonal here? That is, he may come back to his native after completing his work, or if he feels the place is better for living, he may stay there permanently. It depends on nature of his work. Like if he is a government employee and has frequent transfer, he has to leave that place. If he is a businessman and established business there, then he may live there permanently. People also migrate in search of more fertile land or better resources. Example, farmers. Next is urban to urban. People migrate between cities for better opportunities of education and employment. Let's consider Shimoga to Bengaluru in search of education. Some people leave big cities for cleaner, less crowded cities and towns. So, like Bengaluru to Shivamogga. For example, many people from Mumbai have moved to Navi Mumbai and Thane, while many people from Delhi have moved to satellite towns like Gurugram, that is Gurgaon, and Noida. Next is external migration. External migration occurs when people move across international borders to settle in another country. External migrants can be classified in the following ways. They are legal migrants, irregular or illegal migrants, forced migrants, and refugees. Let's see who are legal migrants. These are people who have been granted the right of entry by the government of the country they are emigrating into. Different countries have different rules for their immigrants. In USA, legal immigrants or lawful permanent residents can reside permanently in the United States and work without restrictions. Legal migrants can be permanent or temporary. Let's consider a person moving from India to USA. So, permanent migrants settle permanently in the countries they move into and become its citizens. Temporary migrants move to another country to work there on a temporary basis, so for few years. Often they save a part of the money they earned to send it back home to their families. The United Arab Emirates UAE hosts many migrant workers from India, Bangladesh, and Pakistan. Many legal migrants are businessmen. They go on business purpose. And some are professionals like nurses, teachers, doctors, etc., with special skills, looking for employment in their areas of specialization. Most countries have policies that aim to attract highly skilled workers. So, seeing those policies, many move from place to another place in search of good opportunity for jobs. Sometimes they move to join their family also. So they move to another country to be with family members who reside there. These migrants are generally spouses, children, or other dependents. Next is irregular or illegal migrants. These are immigrants who live in a country without valid documentation or without permission. USA has a significant number of irregular immigrants from Mexico and some countries of South America. India has a significant population of irregular immigrants from countries such as Bangladesh. Last one is forced migrants and refugees. Refugees are migrants who have been forced to leave their country owing to threats posed to their lives, freedom, or security for political, religious, or racial reasons. So, which is known as push factors. Some migrants may also have been forced to leave their country due to famine or natural, chemical, or nuclear disasters. In recent times, the war in Syria has forced many people to leave their homes, many of whom have fled to Turkey and other parts of Europe. There have been times in history when mass forced migration have taken place. So what it means? They are forced to migrate from the place in large groups. The following are some of the major mass migration that have taken place in the 20th century. Migrations of Jewish people from various parts of Europe, especially during and after the Second World War. Have you heard the name of Nazi leader Adolf Hitler? According to him, Jews were an inferior race, that is, inferior religion, and their skin color was threat to German racial purity because he believed that Germans were very fair-skinned and beautiful people of the world. During his rule, Jews were mass killed. They migrated in mass to escape this persecution or ill treatment. Migration between India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh during partition. Have you heard about the partition of India? In August 1947, when after 300 years in India, the British finally left, the subcontinent was partitioned into two independent nation states, Hindu majority India and Muslim majority Pakistan. Immediately, there began one of the greatest migrations in human history, as millions of Muslims trekked to West and East Pakistan, which is known as Bangladesh now, while millions of Hindus and Sikhs headed in opposite direction. Many hundreds of thousands never made it. Migration out of Afghanistan under the Taliban regime to Pakistan, Iran, and other parts of the world. Afghanistan refugees are nationals of Afghanistan who left their country as a result of major wars or persecution. The 1979 Soviet invasion of Afghanistan marks the first wave of internal displacement and refugee flow from Afghanistan to neighboring Pakistan and Iran that began providing shelter to Afghan refugees. So these are about the today's topic. Learn well. See you in the next class. Thank you.